Hey everyone, Skoggle doing another game for you. We're going to be doing a 2v1 lane. We've got Wukong, and he's going to be going bottom to face off against Graves and Sona. Going to be showing you some of why Wukong can pull it off with his burst, his ability to farm. He can roam a little bit. He's got his decoy that can really help him out to get out of sticky situations. Just he has the ability to push and do some cool things. So on Wukong, he does, if he can get farmed, it doesn't really matter if he dies. If he can get the kill back in return, he just needs to be able to get some items in, and he's going to do quite a bit. So his team's invading, trying to get ward out, and they can be really aggressive top lane on the 2v1 swap as long as they can get some wards out and see what's going on. And Garen's going to have no ability to farm from range, so Wukong has an advantage over Garen in a 2v1 swap at least. He may not be the ideal 2v1er, but Garen's more shut down than he is, where Garen would possibly have, I don't know that he wins the lane against Wukong necessarily, but he definitely loses harder than Wukong does 2v1. So that would be the reasons to swap. And if you can shut Garen out completely, then Wukong has okay game, which he does quite fine actually. So we'll show you how he does. So he's going to help leash, and then he's going to come on down, and we'll show you how this Wukong at least does in the swap. And here he's just gonna get himself on over. He waits a while to take his ability, and then he takes his E first. And he's going to immediately get a ward out into this brush so he can see where Sona's gonna be and not let her press him out of advantage too hard. And you can see the damage he can put out immediately with the ward in the brush and a flash. He's able to just get first blood and try to escape with his clone, but it's just not going to be enough. The flash is why he picked up the kill, and then he uses his E to try to escape. It's just not enough. You can see the tactics he has to possibly pull an escape move there if you want to try it. He just didn't quite have enough. He has the kill, he has the Doran's Blade. Garen's been shut out to 0 CS so far. Ezreal's rolling along, Graves is rolling along just fine. And Wukong is much ahead of Garen. So at this point, Garen's completely worthless. Wukong is doing just fine. Ezreal's doing just fine. So is Graves, but whereas one of their guys is completely worthless, and then they're just focusing on a counter jungling and shutting down Garen. So they're not going to worry about shutting down the other opponent team's bottom lane. They're going to worry about shutting down their top and jungle, and then making two of the guys be out of this game. And you can just see what he can just do. He can just zone Sona over and over again. So they're sort of shutting down Sona, at least in experience. And that is, even 1v2, this Wukong is showing his ability to zone at least the support, making life difficult for the 1v2 lane, which is incredibly impressive, just showing the burst and the surprise. You'd be able to do it in solo queue just because of the surprise factor by the time they figured out what you were doing. Just the level of aggression he is putting down on a Sona has just been crazy so far. It would probably take a few practice rounds and watching a video like this and seeing what you can try to get away with, and then just practicing it. Max your E first. The W, you definitely need to get a point in pretty early, and the Q is going to get that burst going pretty hard so you can do it, but this is pretty much the how to do it. And you can see the quick damage burst you can get on. He could have, and your ability to escape out of that, and then he's able to get a decent amount of farm. And you can definitely do the swap when you know that you might have a hard time top, and they're not going to be they're going to have a harder time than you in a 2v1 swap. because he can trade easily, but they have more sustain than him. That's the one issue you have in a 2v1 lane. You're not going to necessarily outright win it, but if you can at least make it so you can farm, which he's doing by putting so much damage pressure on them, then you'll give yourself a very high chance of being successful. Even if this Wukong dies, he's able to put the pressure up enough that he will be able to keep himself relevant mid-late game. And right now, Garen and Maokai are very much struggling because of the pressure that they're putting on top lane and into the jungle. They're making sure they're taking away the entire top side of the jungle as much as they can from Maokai, as much of the bottom side of the jungle as they can, not as much as the top side, but still some, and they are putting a lot of pressure on Garen. And he has nothing ranged that can farm. So if they pick Garen before you, you can always just say, okay, let's make Garen 2v1, because he has nothing that can really range farm. There's not a whole lot Garen can do if you make a lane swap on him. He is not one of the ideal 2v1ers. So if that's just, and Lulu is one of the better 2v1 lane swappers. Sona's really an anti-AD carry. She's not necessarily an anti-bruiser like Lulu is. Lulu can just kind of sit there and be really annoying to deal with. Sona's so squishy, especially against the bruiser, that you can just jump on her over and over and make her really pay for it. So here, Wukong, 37 CS, Garen 9, he has an assist, Wukong has the kill. 1,300 gold compared to 2,100 gold. Graves is only at 2,100 gold, so he's kept up with Graves. And 1,800 on to Ezreal, so Ezreal's way ahead of Garen. So you can see how this paid off, and Maokai is significantly behind Xin Xiao. So you can see where this is paying off for this team. He actually goes and ganks for mid. It's not that Morgana's losing, but that's just going to put his team farther ahead. The pressure onto Ryze is now there, and that's just going to make sure Morgana wins her lane on top of it. So the only person not necessarily winning their lane is Wukong, but he's doing just fine. So the ability to take a 2v1 lane, pressure out the support so that their support's not having a great game and a little bit behind on obviously not CS and gold, but he's behind on levels, and that's going to add up, and that's going to be a big deal. It's just going to add up and really pay dividends in this game. Now mid's winning. Your top's just crushing Garen. At least Wukong's not getting crushed. He's doing okay. And then you have your jungler is just in the face of their jungler all game, putting the pressure on, making him not happy and not having a good game. You can see he's just level 4. You can see Sona's not 6 yet, neither is Lulu, but as long as you can just keep this pressure on, he'll be. It looks like Sona should be the last one besides Maokai to 6. Xin Xiao's already 6. So the pressure has definitely been applied. The only thing that purple team can do, they do kind of do here. They will pressure and take this tower. Morgana went and ganked back. Unfortunately, Wukong was too low and had it back, but they do take the tower, which was a smart move by them. But it's kind of a little bit too late, and Wukong was farmed up. He got the kill, he got farm, none of it mattered. They're going to go for the dragon, and it just kind of sniffed out. He grabbed the ward and he sees it, and here's where their team's just going to do everything alright. He's going to pick up a kill here on a Sona for his second kill. Graves escapes, but his team's able to really clean up here. They get, well, I guess they only pick up the 2 kills, but it's enough. They get a decent-sized lead. He's going to be able to push back to his lane. There's a ton of farm to be had. So while Garen's really denied and they're pushing top and getting farther ahead that way, they're going to deny him to the towers here. They're pushing and pressuring mid. You can just see how his kit really does pay off and work. He has escapes, he has a dash, a gap closure dash / escape type of tool similar to Jax's Q in his E. It can be used to farm, do damage. It can be used to jump away onto a minion, jump forward onto a minion. It just can't do allied minions. It just all has to be enemies, so, and not necessarily wards, but minions and enemies it can jump to. But his decoy kind of makes him invisible and gives him that extra ability to escape, get away, come in invisible. And his Q does extra damage, does damage to towers. And here he's going to be left alone for too long. And then his passive gives him tankiness around if there's more than one enemy near him. And that's going to really help him get tanky in team battles. And then his ultimate knocks everyone up in the air and really is a cool assassination tool. Or CC. It's really his only CC, but it does quite a bit of damage and makes him pretty useful in team fights and to assassinate someone, pick someone off, make sure they don't get away. But this was in a 2v1 lane, and he was able to do a really good job instead of having to deal with the tanky Garen that would have made life fairly problematic in laning. Instead, he's able to do a good job and be the pest in the 2v1 lane, allowing his 2v1 lane free farm Ezreal while Lulu just plays the deny Garen game. They do a great job of stomping their lane. He ganks mid, putting extra pressure on and helping Morgana get as much pressure and farther ahead onto Rise as possible. Helped sniff out an attack dragon when they felt that that was coming. And here he goes for Garen, but this is why you kind of don't want to lane against Garen. As good as that was a denied Garen, and he chases a tank. And this is why you don't chase tanks. He can't E onto him because he's too far away. And Rise kind of just kills him. That's just greed and chasing and kind of why you don't do it. Anyhow, hope you learned something. Hope that helps you if you ever have to 2v1 with Wukong. Take care.